What's good, everybody? How we doing today? We are back with some more Nick Crowley, and this is the darkest moments in TV history number 7. Spooky season is upon us, so what better way to welcome it with some more Nick Crowley? Let's jump into it.
Under the water there are traps. Old cars, bedsteads, weaved hidden depths. It's the perfect place for an accident.
Oh boy. The music selection
On the
for
29th
this...
of June 2025, a group of teenagers ventured into the Miriam River in Bacabal, Brazil, for a quick morning swim. But after several minutes in the water, the group started to realize that one of its members, 13-year-old Raissa, was no longer beside them.
Oh no.
And after calling out her name and searching the surrounding area, the realization set in. Raissa had disappeared. It was now likely somewhere in that murky water around them. The news sent shockwaves throughout the community, and straight away locals filled the area to help find this girl. But their attempts were all futile, and with each passing moment it grew more and more likely that Raissa had tragically drowned, with the search efforts shifting to recovery efforts the next morning. The tragedy led to various news stations arriving on the scene to help document the search, and for one reporter, Lenildo Frazão, he couldn't help but view Raissa's story as a cautionary tale. The Miriam River is particularly unassuming from the surface, which is exactly what made it so dangerous, since it carried with it an unexpectedly strong current and a bottom that was littered with sudden drop-offs, as even in shallow sections, one step could plunge you into deep water without warning.
See, that's something that I am not ever going to go into. Something that has murky water that I can't really see. Plus, I don't know if this place has any type of gators or crocodiles. You damn sure have to be extra careful in Florida, because over here, 9 times out of 10, a body of water, you have to kind of assume that there is a gator in it, and it's looking at you and it's waiting for you to make a move, you know?
As a result, tragedies like this had sadly happened here before, and for Lenildo, this was the perfect time to highlight the river's dangers, in the hope of preventing one from ever happening again. And he had a unique idea to help achieve this. Rather than just explaining how dangerous the river was, Lenildo wanted to demonstrate it. And so he began to take off his shoes and his pants before entering the water, with his microphone in his hand.
I don't think we need a demonstration. I would take your word for it. It's dangerous. Somebody went missing in the river. That's all I need to know. He's about to demonstrate why it's so dangerous. I don't think we really need one.
Pois justamente aqui, pessoal, nós vamos entrar agora na água aqui para mostrar para vocês o local. Olha, a gente já vê que aqui a água é muito forte, ó. E vai descendo, ó. Vixe Maria, vai descendo aqui, viu? Ó.
The camera rolled as he waded into the river, at first going just to the depths of his knees, before the riverbed began to drop beneath him, sending the water all the way up to his chest.
I don't get why they won't give him any type of rope. Like, hey man, I know you're doing this demonstration, but let's take some like safety precautions. I'm gonna give you this rope, and with one hand you hold it and you have the microphone in the other hand. You know, it's just so like, you know, you don't drop down and we can't save you. How about that?
Então, pessoal, e aí tem a correnteza. Aqui já, olha, ó, passinho para frente, a água já tá praticamente.
And all while this happened, he spoke to the viewers at home about how unsafe this area could be, especially for unattended children who weren't strong swimmers. But even with most of his body now submerged, he wanted to take it even further in order to prove his point.
Why?
And so he continued wading towards the center of the river, right in the direction of the noticeably fast-moving current, until suddenly...
Olha, dei pouquinho aqui, ó. A água já tá acima do meu peito, para você ver a situação.
This isn't necessary. This is not necessary, bro. I don't like, this is like got the same type of vibe as when, you know, news reporters go into like the eye of the storm. I know it's fucking dangerous. And like, I don't need you to show me how dangerous it is. It's been fucking up people's buildings and houses and shit. Like, I don't need you to go to the eye of the hurricane, you know, especially if it's like a category 4 or a 5, for you to show me that it's dangerous. I get it. The same with people who chase tornadoes. I think there's a reason why they do it. Maybe it's because they're trying to figure out the trajectory of where it's going. Maybe, I'm not sure, but listen, we know how destructive tornadoes are, okay? This is not necessary at all.
Se eu andar pouquinho aqui, deixa eu ver aqui. Ó, vou andar mais. Ó a fundura aqui, ó.
Oh! Oh, okay. Whew. Get your ass out that water, bro. Get your ass out the
Lenildo
water.
physically recoiled and let out a loud yell. He stood there for a moment, anxiously glaring into the water.
Please don't tell me that that's the... He stepped on the body of the little girl. Please don't tell me that.
Before telling his crew, "I think there's something down here underwater." Whatever he had touched in those murky depths didn't seem natural, with Lenildo describing it as being soft. And quickly, he made his way back to the shore, where he further explained why he was so shaken by the ordeal, admitting that what he stepped on felt like
A person.
an arm.
Yeah. It was probably her.
This is the exact moment that many believe Raisa was found.
Yeah.
As just moments later, several locals would retrace Lenildo's steps and discover the 13-year-old's body in the same exact location.
Knew it.
Raisa had died from an accidental drowning, as she wasn't a strong swimmer, and had likely fallen into the deep water where
She wasn't a strong swimmer. Baby girl, why are you swimming in this water if you're not a strong swimmer, man? Like, it bothers me when kids make these decisions. Like, I get that sometimes, like, you know, they're kids and they're just probably following what their friends are doing. Like, hey, come on, it's fine. We'll help you out. If you can't swim, it's not that bad. I just wish that they would make better decisions, because, man, some of these decisions are literally life or death, man. And, you know, hopefully when I become a parent, I can instill some type of understanding. If you're not a great swimmer, you don't need to be getting in this water, because it's gonna be very hard for you to pull yourself up out of this current. One drowning that happened a couple of months ago, or it might have been a month ago, maybe 2 months ago. The actor Malcolm Jamal Warner, he was on vacation with his family in Costa Rica. I don't know what exactly happened. I think there was like multiple different rumors that he got up early in the morning to go and swim before his family woke up. And I heard one report that his family was actually in the water and he just was so far out that they couldn't really save him, and there was no lifeguards. Whatever the case may be, he ended up drowning in that water. I think there was like a riptide current or some type of current that pulled him away. Those currents are nothing to be played with, man. And it's a lot harder to get yourself out of that current, man. And, you know, it's tiring. If it was in fact a riptide current, I think the best way to get out of a riptide current is to swim with it, but not against it. You almost have to swim parallel to the shore, you know? So, yeah, it's dangerous, man.
he was held down by the current, the exact conditions that Lenildo had been warning the viewers about when he unknowingly stepped on her corpse.
Wow.
With the entire ordeal culminating into what can only be described as one of the darkest moments.
Would this make you buy a Ridge wallet? 2 people could win a Lamborghini Huracan Sterrato, a Hennessy Velociraptor
In television history.
Yeah, that's super sad, man.
Seems all right, but I'm not a doctor. You know what? Think I'm a runner.
7.
Individually, they're just like you and me, but together they are a source of endless fascination.
And we'll conduct a rigorous scientific experiment into twin telepathy.
Take care out on the street. Use your head and then your feet.
The Ericsson?
It was a peculiar sight. As traffic flowed through one of the UK's busiest roadways, the M6, CCTV cameras captured 2 women walking down the narrow median, with a vehicle speeding past them on either side. These women were Sabina and Ursula Ericsson, 40-year-old identical twin sisters who grew up in Sweden, with Ursula eventually moving to the US and Sabina to Ireland. Just one day before this footage was taken, on May 16, 2008, Ursula had made the long flight to visit Sabina at her home in Dublin. But things got off to a troubling start when Sabina got into a verbal altercation with her husband and the father of her 2 kids, prompting both sisters to leave the house in the middle of the night without telling anyone. The next morning, the sisters emerged in the city of Liverpool, where they visited a police station and reported that Sabina's kids were in danger and were unsafe in her husband's care. Law enforcement briefly looked into the matter, but ultimately they didn't seem all too concerned with the children's well-being, and rather they seemed more troubled by the women themselves.
Okay.
Their behavior was just somewhat off, so much so that shortly after leaving the station, they were kicked off a public bus for exhibiting erratic behavior, which some passengers found threatening. And after the altercation, this erratic behavior continued. As for unknown reasons, the pair began walking towards the M6, and then eventually right onto it, where we see them now. It defied any sort of logic, and put them in an extremely dangerous position.
Right.
A position where one wrong move could lead to a horrific accident.
Exactly.
And sure enough, that's exactly what would happen, though it was anything but accidental. Without warning, both women turned and then ran directly into the road.
What?
Before Sabina, directly into a car traveling in the fast lane. Immediately, local police were inundated with urgent calls about the ordeal, leading to a group of officers being dispatched to the scene. And coincidentally, the same group just so happened to have a camera crew following them as part of the show Motorway Cops. The show follows traffic officers as they handle their many daily encounters, ranging from mundane traffic infractions all the way to devastating tragedies. And this segment seemed destined for the latter.
Lane 2 is obviously the fastest lane in the motorway.
So were they trying to just unalive themselves? That seems to be the case here. Don't know why they would do this. Yeah, that's wild.
Being hit, you're expecting serious injury, if not life-threatening.
Despite the officers fearing the worst, however, when they arrived on the scene, they were met with a surprising sight. Standing there before them was Ursula and Sabina, who despite being struck by a car at high speeds, appeared completely unharmed. In fact, both sisters were entirely calm, as they were shown casually speaking amongst themselves as if nothing ever happened. It was a miracle.
Now let me guess, now were the people driving, were they injured? Because that's so crazy. What's going to be crazy to me is if, okay, Sabina and Ursula survive, obviously, right? And the people that hit them in their car are presumably dead. Like, it's weird. Now, I hope that isn't the case here. That'd be so fucking weird if it did happen, right?
And as the officers began trying to piece together the cause of this whole ordeal, everyone at the scene began to breathe a collective sigh of relief. There was no way that any of them could have known that their roles had just been cast in one of the most disturbing television scenes of all time.
What?
Right, what we've got is they were in the central res. They were trying to cross the Bravo, so as we approached, they hadn't seen us, mother. The red ones got knocked down by the red car over there. I've got an ambulance en route for her. Right. She seems all right, but I'm not a doctor. She has been knocked down.
Is she the one that speaks English or the other one?
Yes.
Oh! What
Without a single word being spoken, Ursula dashed into the middle of oncoming traffic and directly into the path of a massive truck traveling at over 60 miles per hour. It happened in a literal instant. There was hardly any chance to react, and before anyone could even begin to process what they had just witnessed, Sabina would also run into the road, not after her sister, but rather straight into the path of an oncoming Volkswagen.
Yeah, they have a death wish. What I think is going on, ladies and gentlemen, is they have both agreed to just unalive themselves. And they were going to do it by just, running into traffic. I guess this is just how they felt like they could deal with their problems. I know that Sabina, or was it Ursula? I think it was Sabina that has issues with her husband. I can't really piece together as to why somebody would want to do this other than they are just severely depressed and whatever's happening in their homes, they just can't deal with it anymore. That's just my guess at the moment.
Oh no!
Ooh.
Line Council, we need ambulance.
Oh!
Officers to the scene. We've got 2 possible fatals.
What the fuck?
Within just seconds, this completely calm scene had turned to utter chaos, and both women were now lying on the pavement. Miraculously, they both were still alive. Sabina was—
How the fuck are they still alive, dude? Literally, they have got to be the 2 luckiest women in this story. I don't know if they're going to make it all the way to the end of the story, but dude, you mean to tell me that they not only survive one oncoming car crash, but 2? I've seen people get killed by way less.
Stable but knocked unconscious, while Ursula was in rough shape. Her legs had been pulverized by the truck, with paramedics describing them as looking as if they had exploded.
Jesus.
And while she lay there on the pavement, she was wide awake and experiencing everything.
Oh.
Within seconds of receiving medical attention,
Ooh.
Ursula began to cry out. But strangely, it wasn't in pain. Rather, she was yelling at the paramedics, cursing, and even attacking them for trying to help her.
Calm down. Fucking asshole. Calm down.
Like they, God, that's so weird, man. It's like they're angry because, well, she's angry because she didn't perish.
He's very aggressive, spitting at me.
Shouting things like, I recognize you. I know you're not real.
Come on, you've hit your head. Calm down. We are the police. We are the police.
It was clear that she was suffering from some sort of delusion, but while officers had their hands full trying to subdue her, things were about to get even more hectic as Sabina started to regain consciousness.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
She had been brutally struck by a car, as evidenced by the damage to the vehicle itself. But like Ursula, she also appeared almost entirely unfazed, as she stood up and began to scream to her sister, They're going to steal your organs. One of the officers tried to hold her back, but Sabina resisted.
Bro, cuff her right the fuck now. You gotta get 2 people on her ass because she's gonna go back in traffic again.
Oscar Tango 3-3.
Oh, what? Oh, you've got to be kidding me. You let her do that to you? Are you serious? This just keeps getting worse and worse. I'm surprised that she actually has the strength to like fiend off a cop that's trying to hold her down. And to nobody's surprise, she's about to go back in traffic. Bro, what the fuck is happening?
Eventually shoving the woman to the ground before once again taking off into oncoming traffic.
What the
No! Stay!
Get her ass. Get her ass. Get her
Thankfully,
ass.
This time the cars managed to avoid her, but it would take 6 officers to finally restrain her. And even with that many people, it was still a struggle, as her strength was unlike anything that they had seen in a woman.
Why the fuck is she so strong? What the fuck is, like, what? I don't mean to laugh, but like, what is, it takes this many cops to get her, like, apprehended? Like, if you don't put her in a full Nelson and put her in the back of your cop car, like, bro, what's going on?
Her size. And with Sabina now subdued, the chaos was finally over.
Okay, thank goodness.
In the following moments, Ursula was airlifted to a local hospital where she underwent an extensive, yet successful emergency surgery, while Sabina was shockingly found to have no injuries, which allowed her to be discharged into police custody after just 5 hours, where she was promptly arrested and sentenced to 1 day in prison for assaulting an officer, as well.
Just 1 day in prison. Okay. I think she needs to be put in like a mental asylum or something, because what's going on here? What's stopping them from doing this shit again? You know, I mean, I know Ursula probably can't do it again, but what's stopping her from going into traffic again?
Was trespassing on the motorway. And with both women now safe, one question burned at the forefront of everyone's minds. Why had the Ericsson twins done this? Well, the immediate theory was that this was all the result of drug use. But surprisingly, when given toxicology tests, no drugs or alcohol would be found in either of their systems.
Wow.
They were entirely sober during this ordeal.
Wow.
Which left only one plausible theory, that this was all the result of some sort of mental breakdown, with both women somehow experiencing its effects at the same time. Today, this case is used as one of the most glaring examples of a psychological disorder known as folie à deux, in which one person suffering from delusions transmits said delusions onto a different person, leading to both people experiencing the same misconstrued version of reality.
Well, they are twins. Now, I don't know the ins and outs of twins, but apparently twins they have a very strong bond. You know, I think that sometimes I've heard that twins can also know what the other one's thinking. Not like to a T, but, you know, they have like a special bond, twins. So, you know, obviously they're very close. So, I can't really say like why they would do this, but maybe one was going through a very strong mental health breakdown and that transfer over to the other twin. So, yeah, I guess that could be a plausible answer.
And while this is only a theory, it's clear that regardless of the how or why, these women were extremely mentally unwell during this event. In fact, during the TV program, an officer even mentioned that this could be a 136.
Yeah, she under arrest, ladies.
136?
Well, 136 if she is.
Which is a code that allows law enforcement to hold people on account of their mental health to assure that they're safe to return to the public. But shockingly, not only did this never happen, but Sabina was released without ever being given a mental health assessment.
She was, bro, what is... I'm not going to say that I've never seen law enforcement drop the ball before, but it just seems like, why would you not follow through on the 136? I feel like that would be a no-brainer, you know?
In fact, she was never so much as looked over by a mental health professional and was instead released the very next day after the incident.
They failed her.
On top of this, when she was released, she was given no information about Ursula's whereabouts or her condition, or even resources to help find her way home, leaving Sabina still mentally unwell and now stranded in an unfamiliar city, not knowing what happened to her sister. And sadly, her delusions were far from over.
Are you kidding me? Why would they just like say, hey, you're fine, go back out into the world? I mean, it's not like you didn't just try to unalive yourself by walking in or running into traffic, right? Yeah, mentally you're fine. Like, what? What the fuck is
Imagine bringing
going
your side
on? That's so odd.
As she left the police station on the 19th of May,
she's a danger to herself and other people. What the fuck?
Nina had nowhere to go, and so she began to wander, carrying her belongings in the same evidence bag that the police had given her earlier that day. Eventually, she would happen across two men walking their dogs, and as she stopped to pet them, Sabina asked the owners where the nearest hotel was. But seemingly recognizing that the woman wasn't well, one of the men, Glenn Hollenshed, offered to have her stay at his place, to which Sabina happily obliged. But once inside Hollenshed's home, Sabina began acting extremely paranoid, checking the windows constantly and believing that her cigarettes had been poisoned.
Bro, I mean, I guess it is a nice gesture, but listen, you don't know this woman. I mean, you don't know this person. The best that I could do if I was in that guy's situation, I would not invite someone I don't know into my home. Like, I just would not do that, okay? There's been too many stories where I've heard that somebody is down on their luck. They could be homeless. They could be just on the streets. And some kind person lets them stay at their place. And that person who is just showing kindness in a lot of the cases, sometimes I don't know if this guy had some type of different motive, right? But I'm going to go out and say that this is, this guy was just trying to be nice. But even when you're trying to be nice, it could backfire on you, and you could end up getting injured by that person that you brought into your home, or even worse, killed. So, yes, you can help people, but you have to be careful at the same time. That's all I'm going to say.
Despite this, though, Hollenshed was patient, and he helped her make calls around the area to track down Ursula, while making sure that Sabina was eating and drinking. The following day, Hollenshed was preparing dinner for Sabina when he stepped out of the house to ask his neighbor for tea. But just minutes after returning home with the bags, he would once again step out of the house. Only this time, he was completely covered in blood.
What?
As he stumbled and screamed, "She stabbed me." As he collapsed to the ground, the neighbor rushed over to try and help, but the damage was already done. Hollenshed would let out one final soft whisper, saying, "Look after my dog for me," before breathing his final breath.
See what I'm talking about? See, this guy had really good intentions. He let her use his phone, made sure that she was eating and drinking, was making dinner for her, letting her stay at his house. But you just don't know who you're letting into your house. Like, I don't care how sad the story is. Like, I just, for my safety, I cannot allow someone that I don't know, that I just met, into my home. I'm sorry. I can always point you in the right direction. I can give you whatever money I have on me. I can even go and get you some food, if you're hungry. But I just cannot allow someone to stay in my place because, not all homeless people have mental issues, but some of them are just, they just, whatever life has brought them to, they have to stay on the streets and, they have to do what they have to do to make it and survive every day. But some people do have some serious mental health issues, which is why they are on the streets. So you have to keep that in mind, That's very sad. And I kind of figured that was going to happen.
For unknown reasons, in that house, Sabina had stabbed Glenn Hollinshed. And by the time law enforcement arrived, she was long gone, having fled the house with a hammer in her hand, which she used to strike her head repeatedly as she mumbled incoherently and walked down the sidewalk. Eventually, a man passing by tried to intervene, but Sabina immediately attacked, brandishing a roof tile that she had hidden in her pocket and using it to strike him on the head, nearly knocking him unconscious.
A roof tile? Where the fuck you get a roof tile from? What the hell?
It would take several minutes for police to finally catch up with her, but just like the day prior, she took off, leading to a chase that ended with Sabina being surrounded on a 40-foot tall bridge that passed over a highway. And recognizing that there was nowhere left for her to go,
she jumped.
She jumped.
Knew it. And that probably killed her, right?
Somehow, Sabina would cheat death once again.
What is going on with this woman? She cheats death 3 different times? This is like the epitome of God saying, I said it's not your time, damn it.
And despite suffering 2 broken ankles and a skull fracture, she was alive.
How the fuck?
And after a lengthy recovery, she was put on trial for the murder of Glenn Hollinshed, where she would never give a single comment as to why she did what she did, leaving her motive a total mystery to this day. Though it seems clear that it was at least partially a result of her delusions, with the defense pointing to folie à deux as a potential explanation. And in the end, it was deemed that Sabina was not mentally fit to make decisions at the time of the slaying.
Duh.
And ultimately, she was given a prison sentence of
not duh. Whoa, hold on. I was going to say that, I thought he was going to say, well, she was not mentally fit to be released into public. They said that she wasn't mentally fit to make decisions after the slaying, but they couldn't come to the conclusion after she just ran into traffic twice? What makes you think she was fit to make decisions after she ran into traffic 2 times? Oh my God. Am I tripping, y'all? Like, what the fuck's happening here? What's
This
happening?
is truly one of the most disturbing TV cases of all time. And for as shocking as it is on its own, what I find most chilling is the fact that these officers mentioned holding her for a psychiatric evaluation, which ultimately never happened.
She's under arrest, baby.
Well, 136 if she is.
It was a massive oversight. In fact, it was so glaring that the police department allegedly contacted the show and asked them to remove this entire section. As if they had just followed through with that code 136,
right.
Sabina would have been held for longer than just 1 night, which meant that she not only may have been given the help she needed, but she also never would have had the chance to meet Glenn Hollinshed that fateful day.
Very true. But I don't know why they just didn't follow through with it. What meets the requirements of a 136 other than, like, I feel like running into traffic twice would meet that requirement for a 136. Like, what are we doing?
Since her release from prison in 2011, Sabina promptly disappeared from the public eye, and neither she nor Ursula has ever been heard from again, meaning we have no idea whatever happened to the Ericsson twins.
Wow.
They just simply tend to
Well, they failed her.
Decisions at the same times. They're thinking in the same way.
Super talent.
It's December 2021.
This guy's shirt is way too tight.
A couple receives a warm welcome as they walk onto the stage, ready to compete in the Croatian television show Super Talent, the country's version of America's Got Talent. But it's clear this excitement from the crowd wasn't shared by the show's host, who turned to someone standing behind the camera and flashed the unmistakable look of concern.
What was that
In the
look?
minutes prior, the audience at home was introduced to the pair, 34-year-old singer Roman Bernata, and his wife, 44-year-old violinist Bianca Kolompar, along with their child, who would be watching on as the two shared their musical talents with the world.
Okay.
In their day-to-day lives, Roman was a professional goalkeeper for a local soccer team, while Bianca was a professional violinist with a doctorate in music. And while on paper this all seems fairly normal, it was immediately clear to those watching that this couple was anything but. The two frequently went on long-winded and bizarre rants, with Bianca opening up about her breast enlargement surgery.
Ja sam imala kao cura velike grudi, velika mi je bila želja da to vratim, operirala sam.
And the two discussing at length their belief in a living God who walked the earth.
Ali ja osjetim, stvarno imam taj kontakt sa živim Bogom i mislim da je...
But I feel I really have that contact with the living God. What does she mean by that?
Bog svugdje oko nas, da je Bog osoba.
And I think God is everywhere around us, that God is a person and energy.
Energija, istovremeno, da.
I mean, honestly, that's not the most craziest thing that I've heard, but okay.
But it was their performance itself that proved to be the strangest part of their time on the show.
Pozdrav svima.
Dobro večer.
Vi se mene ne sjećate, jel da?
Ja?
Ne. Prije puno godina.
Aha, ja se nas sjećam kad sam snimala
škola,
spot.
jel ide Hardo, ide? Je, ja se ispričavam, ali stvarno moram vas to pitati.
Roman's introduction was fairly uncomfortable, as he made mention of a time that he had met one of the judges years before, who clearly had no recollection of the encounter, which seemed to frustrate him, as his demeanor quickly became hostile.
Ko je vaš talent? S čim ste se došli predstaviti?
Ja nemam nikakav talent.
Pa šta ste onda došli?
Raditi.
Ali potpuno nebitno, emisija se zove Super talent,
ja vas
kolegica...
volim, nemojte mi zamijeniti.
Alo, polako, mislim da ipak ćemo mi ovdje voditi riječ.
Može, pa.
Leading to Roman receiving his first X before he even sang a single note.
Why the fuck is he so hostile? I don't get it. Like, but these people are clearly not well, and they probably should be removed right the fuck now.
Ko je kolegica pitala koji je vaš talent, a naša emisija se zove Super talent, a vi tvrdite da nemate talent, onda vas ja pitam pošto ste došli.
Radi. Okej, hvala, može.
It was a rough start for the couple, and by the time they did get to perform, things only got worse.
And now, the end is near, and so I face the final curtain. I
I mean, it kind of sounds good, but is it really him singing? I mean, I guess it is, but I don't know. Does it sound? It sounds low key okay. Low key, it sounds all right.
Admittedly, the couple didn't sound awful, but it was clear the judges were frustrated by Roman's demeanor, prompting all four of them to hit their X, signaling the end of the couple's performance.
Oh, is he just like doing too much with his body or something?
At least they thought.
Sounds pretty good.
As the two just kept on performing, playing over the sounds of the judges shouting their name and the deafening silence from the crowd. With the two going until a producer finally had to step in from behind the camera and officially cut them off. But even then, the couple continued their antics, this time by protesting the judge's decision, with Bianca even threatening to go to the newspaper and expose their behavior to the press, all while Roman stood angrily to the side, glaring at the panel before him. And with that, Roman and Bianca's time on Super Talent was over, and they not only walked away without receiving the grand prize, but they also left with shattered reputations, as this segment became notorious among fans of Super Talent, with the couple being considered one of the most unusual acts to ever feature on the show.
Yeah.
But despite its virality, this performance isn't what Roman is most widely remembered for today.
What the bro?
On February 6th, 2022, residents in Rijeka, Croatia were met with the sight of a fully nude man wandering the city streets.
Why?
It was Roman Bernata.
Why the
While
fuck?
most stared on in amusement, laughing to themselves and snapping photos.
Come
What
on,
they were
man.
witnessing was actually one of the most disturbing events the city had ever seen.
Agreed.
After his disastrous performance just 1 year prior, Roman continued to pursue a career in singing, taking every opportunity he could to share his music with the world, often joining Bianca on her YouTube channel, and singing on the streets for tips, where he actually made a decent amount of money. Though because of his notorious television moment, he would often be harassed and even have the money he earned stolen from him.
Wow.
One day, while performing outside of a local soup kitchen, he was introduced to a woman named Darnika Krevich, a 67-year-old who relied on the soup kitchen for consistent meals. And after hearing Roman sing, she became a legitimate fan of his music, leading to the two striking up a friendship. And despite Darnika not having much, she offered to take Roman to a local coffee shop on February 6, 2022, where she treated him to a warm cup of tea on a cold winter day. And so the two sat inside a restaurant called the Cafe Pin, with everything seeming completely normal, until a server noticed that Roman started to look almost sickly, like he could barely keep himself upright, as his body was starting to slump over the table, his eyes barely open. The server rushed over to help, but Roman recoiled and shouted, Just try calling the police on me. Oh, here we go. Try calling the police on me. And so, not wanting to escalate things, the server left, only returning later to drop off their check, which is when Roman's behavior took an even more drastic turn. He began feeling around his pants pocket for his wallet, before looking desperately around the table, but there was no sign of it. And so he grabbed Darnika's bag and rifled through it, before yelling, You snake, you whore, where's my wallet? Though when he still couldn't find it in Darnika's bag, his anger turned to violence as he stood up and rushed Darnika, grabbing her by the head and shaking her, screaming in her face, accusing her of being a thief.
What the fuck?
This time, multiple people inside the cafe rushed over to hold him back, but Roman was too strong, too angry, and with seemingly no effort at all, he pushed everyone away, completely unfazed by their attempts. In that moment, no one could have stopped Roman. Darnika was entirely helpless, and so the crowd inside the cafe watched as Roman grabbed her by the neck and dragged her behind the bar.
What?
And then proceeded to kick, then stomp, and then jump directly on her over and over again.
So nobody is gonna come to her aid? They are just allowing him to beat on this poor woman? Nobody... So basically this whole video is about mental health, pretty much, which I find very interesting. You know, I've always been really curious about just, you know, the topic of mental health, because I feel like a lot of people, especially in America, have mental health issues. But it also is sad to see the people who are also affected by somebody else's mental health. You know, the first story, this guy, like I mentioned before, like Nick mentioned, just trying to help this woman that he saw struggling, invited her into his house, which I would not have done, but ends up losing his life because she stabs him to death. Now, this woman saw him singing on the side of the street. They went to go have, you know, some coffee or some tea or whatever. He ends up having like a fucking moment and ends up beating her, which I'm pretty sure he's gonna fucking kill her. And it's like she was just trying to be nice, you know? Again, it's nothing wrong with helping someone that you feel, you know, is down on their luck, but you gotta be careful, y'all. Please.
Each time landing on her head. It was a rage so demented that he actually began to smile, a wide manic grin, as he jumped and chanted, Whore, witch, die.
Oh my lord.
After what felt like an eternity, Roman stopped, before sprinting out of the restaurant, leaving Darnika.
And nobody, there wasn't a man in sight to help this poor woman. What felt like an bro, there was nobody.
Entirely unrecognizable and dead on the floor.
The
same floor where, just feet away, Roman's wallet lay, having innocently fallen out of his pocket shortly before.
And he had the fucking thing in his... Oh my fucking god. I don't know what upsets me more. The fact that this asshole had his wallet in his pocket the entire time, or the fact that nobody came to this poor woman's aid. Oh my.
Outside, Roman removed his blood-soaked clothes and walked completely naked into the city center, much to the amusement of the passerbys who had no idea what he had just done, until eventually he made his way into a nearby police station and blankly stated, I am not well.
clearly you're not. You just fucking
This
killed
sentiment was
someone.
true in so many regards. Roman hadn't been well for quite a long time. Since a young age, it's believed he had dealt with undiagnosed schizophrenia that had led to uncontrollable anger issues, before developing an alcohol and substance abuse problem that only exacerbated his symptoms.
Right.
And by the time he was an adult, Roman became so delusional that he believed he was a disciple sent from God to touch the world with his music, something that he eventually convinced Bianca of as well.
Which is interesting, because if he has that condition, it's just, you know what I find very interesting, y'all, is someone who has those type of mental health issues still able to marry or have a girlfriend and have a kid. Like, I don't understand how she could not see the mental health issues in him and not be a little reluctant to be with this dude. Like, I guess I find that really interesting. Like, he has schizophrenia and he's a drinker and he's an alcoholic, but you know what I mean? Like, I don't understand how that works. Does that not bother you? Like, I mean, he's untreated. I don't know. Maybe I don't know.
So in their Super Talent episode, when
Like,
Bianca
how?
mentioned their love for a living God that walked the earth,
Like, does she have mental health issues too? You know?
she was likely referencing Roman.
Ali ja osjetim, stvarno imam taj kontakt sa živim Bogom i mislim da je Bog svugdje oko nas, da je Bog osoba, energija, istovremeno, da.
Roman was severely unwell, and no one in his life was keeping him in check. In fact, those closest with him were only feeding his delusions, with all of his issues coming to a head on the day of the incident. And when he realized his wallet was gone, Roman rushed to assume that Darnika was the one who robbed him, perhaps as a result of having his money stolen frequently on the streets. But the sad reality was, in a sea of people trying to exploit and mock Roman, Darnika was one of the few who actually truly cared about him.
And it's always the people who care. It's always the people that say, hey, I see you, and I'm going to take time out of my day to help you out. It's always those people getting killed and getting the short end of the stick. It just makes me, it's like, it's not fair, man. It's not fair. That's why it's hard for me to listen to these stories, because all of the people that wanted to help someone that isn't well gets killed.
He legitimately believed in his talents, and yet he killed her in one of the most evil ways imaginable, all over a simple misunderstanding that was entirely his fault.
Right.
In the end, Roman Bernardo was deemed unfit to stand trial and was never sentenced to serve any jail time, instead being given a 40-year sentence in a mental health facility, where he's since been described as a model patient, with his good behavior awarding him the opportunity to leave the facility for days at a time for therapeutic purposes.
Nah, he should be fucking in jail. He should be, okay, yeah, maybe he has schizophrenia, but someone still died. Someone still died. That one's a little, I don't know about that one. I think he should still serve time.
Nature is king here. Man can only watch and be humble.
There's nothing out there. It's your imagination.
The gaslighting. Man, that one pissed me off, y'all. Pissed me off.
It was the start of yet another adventure for the crew of the television show Gardener's World. This British program has been on the air since the 1960s and provides viewers with tips on how to maintain their garden while showing off a variety of unique plant life, which often brought them to remote areas of the globe. This particular episode was filmed on February 5th, 2020 in the Drakensberg mountain range of Lesotho, Africa, with the host, Nick Bailey, making the long journey to track down one specific flower.
One species which grows wild all over the country and has been a real favourite with British gardeners for generations is the gladiolus.
Real favourite.
This delicate flower would have been familiar with many of the show's viewers, as it was quite popular in the UK. But in this region, there existed a unique species that had only been seen a handful of times in the last century, since it only grew in one particular valley in this one particular mountain range. Its scientific name is the Gladiolus microcarpus, and there were two people who knew it better than anyone else. Rod and Rachel Saunders were well-renowned botanists who studied the world of South African flowers in depth, with their favorite being the gladioli, as they would spend days and even months on end roaming areas just like this to learn everything they could about them, making them the perfect duo to help with the show.
Why gladioli? There's so many different plant species in South Africa you could have picked.
I think their beauty. Some of them are so exquisitely beautiful, you actually just want to sit down and cry when you see them.
But even with their vast knowledge of this region, there was always an element of danger when traversing it.
We need stories. We need stories to understand ourselves.
Its climate is often volatile, and conditions are known to turn on a dime, making safely navigating this area extremely difficult to downright impossible. This was apparent even on the day of filming, as a dense fog had rolled in, and given the steep and rocky landscape, one wrong step could spell disaster.
Yikes.
This didn't stop the crew from carrying onward though, as Rod and Rachel were relentless in their pursuit. They would do anything to find these flowers.
I don't like flowers that much, okay? I'm just saying, not enough to put my life on the line. Fuck that. I'm good.
And sure enough, the segment ended as they did exactly that.
We've come about 4 times looking for this plant, and this is the best I've ever seen it. It is looking absolutely gorgeous.
With that, Rod and Rachel's time on Gardener's World was over, but their journey through this area certainly wasn't. As the cameras cut, the crew made their way back to their makeshift base camp miles away, where they said their goodbyes, with Nick Bailey capturing a photo with a beloved couple and sharing it onto Twitter before parting ways, leaving the couple behind. As rather than returning to their home in Cape Town, this was actually just the start of what would be a multi-month expedition into this region, with the Ngoi Forest Reserve being their final destination. Along with being botanists, the couple were also avid seed collectors, and had started a business which shipped the seeds they had found to other plant lovers around the world. And while here, they made it their mission to find some of these ultra-rare gladioli seeds. And sure enough, on February 8th, 2020, Rod and Rachel sent a text to one of their employees at the seed mailing business, which contained a photo of the exact flower they were looking for. But despite this text seeming like a sign of more good things to come, the reality was far more bleak.
Oh boy.
As this text would ultimately be the last the couple would ever send.
God damn it.
Out of nowhere, communication with Rod and Rachel had stopped entirely, and for days no one heard anything from the duo, prompting that same employee they had sent the image to report them as missing on the 10th of February.
Oof.
It was a devastating turn of events, but one that was always a possibility. Poor weather, a wrong turn, an injury, anything could have derailed their expedition, as again, this area was notoriously dangerous, with it seeming all but certain that they had fallen victim to the unpredictable fury of Mother Nature.
Right.
Though this belief would quickly shift, thanks to the discovery of the couple's car. It was found by authorities abandoned by the edge of the Tugela River, and had been emptied of virtually everything inside. However, there was something left behind. As in the trunk, authorities would find a massive pool of blood. Blood that belonged to Rachel. Just days after filming, Rod and Rachel were making their way towards the Ngoi Forest Reserve, growing more and more excited by the discoveries they were making.
Okay, I'm thinking either somebody, like some random person, saw them on the trail or something and murdered them, or maybe the husband did it, I don't know.
Oblivious to the fact that in the woods around them, they were being watched, hunted even, and not by an animal, but rather by a man. His name was Saifundin Aslam Delvicio, a local of the area that the couple was traversing, and on February 9th, he allegedly sent a text to his wife, Bibi Patel, telling her that he had found a good target, and that he was now in pursuit, with said target being Rod and Rachel. Later that night, the couple made their camp and began to drift off in their tent, while Delvicio allegedly watched on, and once he was certain that they had fallen asleep, he made his move, approaching the tent, then tearing it open, and then standing above the couple.
See, this is one of the main reasons why I don't like camping. Now, I get it, camping could be a fun thing to do. I'm just not somebody who likes to camp or hike or none of that stuff. Now, I just don't, like, even if I have a weapon, I don't like the fact that I'm in a tent and I can't see what's going on around me. You know what I mean? It gets super dark, it's pitch black. All I have is my cell phone or whatever the case may be, or a campfire. And I'm more worried about what can see me in this position. I don't feel safe, you know? I mean, this is like my biggest fear when it comes to like hiking or camping in some place I don't know about, you know?
In the following moments, Rod and Rachel would be brutally bludgeoned to death before they could even react, as they lay helplessly, still inside their sleeping bags.
That's so fucking sad, man. You piece of
Text messages
shit.
indicate that Delvicio then enlisted the help of his wife, Bibi, as well as his friend, Musa Jackson, to help discard the bodies, using the couple's own car to transport them to the one place they were certain they would never be found.
And what's the point of doing this shit? You know, like...
The Tugela River, as there was something about this stretch of water that they believed would make these bodies impossible to find. Crocodiles.
Oh, crocodiles, yeah.
And so they pulled up to the banks of the river as the crocodiles quietly watched on from a distance and dumped the bodies of Rod and Rachel into the water, where they were immediately devoured.
Wow. Just wow.
They thought it was the perfect plan. However, it thankfully failed to work as well as they had hoped, as in the following weeks, fishermen would happen upon both of the corpses, or at least what remained of them, as they were in such bad shape that it would take nearly 2 full months for them to be identified. As for why this attack happened, we still don't fully know, as the trial is still ongoing, with Delvicio proclaiming his innocence, which is why everything is alleged at the moment, but the evidence is damning.
What a piece of shit that guy is, man. And sending that to his wife, like, I think the elderly couple will be a good... Like, what are you fucking talking about, dude? You mean these people just want to, like, go and just find flowers and just, you know, get some seeds or just doing what they love to do? And you gotta fucking ruin it by just killing them? Like, bro, this is the type of shit I cannot... Like, this is like... I don't want to say that this is rage bait, because it's not rage bait, but I just get... I get so infuriated at stories like this when kind people just living their lives. Kind people who just get the short end of everything, you know? First 2 people just wanted to help. This couple was just trying to find flowers that they love to find and, you know, rare flowers. Of course, this guy wants to go hunt them and kill them. Like, bro, what the fuck, man? Like, can you just leave people alone? Like, what the hell?
Messages on Delvicio's phone paint a clear picture that he was responsible for this, with his motive appearing to be religious differences between him and the Saunders, as well as money, as after the slayings, large sums of money were withdrawn from the couple's bank accounts, along with lavish purchases being made on their credit.
Religious differences, bro? What the, like, who gives a fuck, man?
With one of the receipts from the shopping spree being found inside of Bibi's purse. The evidence is almost impossible to deny, but while we wait for justice to be served, it's important to refocus on those who won't be here to see it happen.
I hope they rot in prison. I hope they are under the prison, bro. I really do.
Rod and Rachel truly did nothing wrong. They were 2 incredibly wholesome people who were just trying to find and connect with the flower that they loved so dearly. And while their interview days before their death is an undeniably dark television moment, it also serves...
Like, people, I gotta let y'all know, this is so... Do you realize how sad this is? Like, I almost can't even finish... Like, we're toward the end of the video right now, but this is so sad, man. So sad. Like, I just... I don't know why there's people like this in the world, man. And it just like hurts my soul to hear stories like this, man. I just think that what type of person do you have to be to like take someone's life that is simply trying to just find a flower?
As an incredible tribute, as one of the last things they ever did in their lives was share their love and passion for gladioli with the world, the flower that they ultimately gave their lives to find.
Quite a trek to get here, and what an incredible treat to see such a special plant in such a niche
I wonder if this guy was still stalking him while they were with this dude.
environment. Thank you.
Pleasure.
It's a pleasure. It's nice to be here.
That's so fucking sad, man. Wow. I mean, it's not a Nick Crowley video if you're not feeling like shit afterwards, right? Dude, this was such a hard watch. This was a very hard watch. That last story really just... Like, it hurt my soul almost, man. people, and I mean, this whole video really just, it was hard to watch because it's just people trying to, the first two stories were just people trying to help someone that is in distress, or they felt like they could extend a helping hand, and then they end up getting killed for it. Right? Now, the first one, even if that guy made poor judgment, Glenn, his intentions were pure, right? Second story, she just wanted to help this guy who she thought had a great voice. This story, couple just trying to find a rare flower that they've been searching for a good portion of their lives, I think, right? It just, man, ladies and gentlemen, all I can say is just be safe out there. Be careful. If you're trying to extend a helping hand to someone out there, please have good discernment, you know? Now, I know you can't be a psychic about everybody that you come in contact with, because you can't, but just have good perception and discernment, you know, when you're out here in this world that we share. Because people could have mental health issues, they're unwell, and also be careful of your surroundings, man. That's all I'm gonna say. If you enjoyed the video, please give Nick your support. And if you enjoyed the reaction, give me a thumbs up, share, and subscribe. And I'll be back with more reactions. Peace!